So Ezra Klein posted a video recently titled "Don't Believe Him," talking about Donald Trump. And for those of us who oppose this MAGA fascism that we're seeing under Trump, it's really sort of a hopeful message throughout his video. Basically saying that a lot of what we're seeing is smoke and mirrors. And it's just a projection of strength when in reality, Donald Trump is really weak. And the strategy that he's employing may very well backfire. And there's already indications that it is backfiring. And so it's really hopeful for those of us who oppose Donald Trump. Now, the reason why I want to talk about it is because I posted a video yesterday, which I titled "MAGA Dictatorship, How They Plan to Do It." And that video, if you watch it, it's sort of bleak, right? In terms of what Donald Trump and his team are trying to do, because what they're trying to do is really bad. And if they were to be successful in what they're trying to do, it really would spell the end of our constitutional republic. And so for that reason, it's sort of a dark kind of video in that way. And in response to my video, I got a comment saying, have you seen Ezra Klein's video? Because he seems to be saying the opposite of what you're saying. You know, your video is kind of doom and gloom. Ezra Klein's video is sort of optimistic. And, you know, but what you say makes so much sense. And what he says makes so much sense. I don't know what to believe. I'm so upset. I'm so confused. You know, what am I to believe? That was essentially what the person was saying. And that's what I want to address. Because there's nothing that he said in his video that is incompatible with what I said in my video. The things we said, although they seem very different, they're not at all inconsistent. Like I said, I agree with pretty much everything he said in his video. And I myself have made many of the points that he makes. And to explain to you what I'm talking about, let me sort of summarize some of the key points that he makes in his video. Now, what he talks about at the beginning is flooding the zone. This obvious strategy by Trump and his team to just hit us with so much crap all at once that we're unable to focus on anything. We're completely distracted because so much is coming at us so quickly. And what happens is that Trump's opposition is unable to coalesce around any one message because we're just being hit with so much crap. And when we start to focus on one thing, he hits us with something else. And then we all start focusing on that. I mean, as I'm recording this right now, it's Wednesday afternoon. Now, just yesterday, Trump came out with this Gaza crap where we're going to take over Gaza and he's going to send the military in there and he's going to displace all the Palestinians. It was really crazy, you know, authoritarian, just awful stuff. And the world, in many ways, you know, we're getting comments from world leaders, you know, opposing this. I mean, it's bad. And of course, everyone's talking about that now. And whatever we were up in arms about just 12 hours ago before he had this press conference, nobody's talking about that anymore. I don't even remember what it was at this point. And so that's what he's able to effectively do. We're not able to focus on any one thing. And as you know, within maybe hours, Trump will hit us with something else and we won't even be talking about Gaza anymore. So we can't really coalesce around a single message or a single thing or a couple of things to focus on because we're getting hit with so much. And it keeps his opposition distracted and disjointed, right? So that's one thing he's doing. Another thing that Ezra Klein points out, and this kind of gets to the heart of the "don't believe him" thing, and that is, you know, Trump is full of shit. He's the world's biggest liar. But what he does effectively is he projects what he wants you to believe, right? He believes that if you say something often enough, no matter how ridiculous, it will start to be true in people's minds. They'll accept it as true. And Donald Trump doesn't want to be president. He's never wanted to be president. He doesn't want to do the job of being president. He wants to be a king. That's what he wants. He doesn't want to actually do the job. A president is a job. A king, oh, you're just above everything. You're a freaking king. You say something and people just fall all over themselves trying to please you, and you want something done and people do it immediately. That's what Donald Trump wants. He wants to be a king. He doesn't want to be a president. And so he's projecting himself as a king. And what the point Ezra makes is that if Trump pretends that something is true, it makes it more likely that it will become true, because people will start to accept it as true, and then it will be easier for Trump to actually do it. And so here he wants to be a king, so he's acting like a king, and it's more likely that people will accept him as having the powers of a king when he doesn't. He just has the powers of a president, but he's projecting himself as having the powers of a king, and people are beginning to just accept that. So anyways, that's another point he makes there. Here's an important point about executive orders that I've made many times. He talks about how Trump doing everything by executive order, well, number one, it's a stupid strategy in terms of durability, because executive orders aren't law. Even if they are rubber stamped by the courts, and if a court says, yeah, well, that it's constitutional what he did, it's not illegal, he had the power to do this executive order, it's still not a law. And because it's not a law, it could be easily undone, just like that, by another president overruling it by executive order, because it's not a law. And so if you do everything by executive order, as Trump is thus far doing, then there's no durability to what you're accomplishing, because if we elect a Democrat in 4 years, that person can just wipe away everything that Donald Trump has done. But the real important point he made about that is that Donald Trump is doing things by executive order, not out of strength, but out of weakness. Because Donald Trump is a very unpopular man, despite what they project. Despite that they claim he's so popular and won this huge victory and he has this mandate. The truth is, he is an historically unpopular new president. And they have bare majorities in Congress. And he knows that it's going to be very difficult for him to get anything through Congress. And if he fails in getting his agenda passed through Congress, that'll make him look weak. So he doesn't want to do that. So he wants to try to do everything by executive order. So he's doing all of this acting like a king with his dictates and executive orders, not out of strength, out of weakness. If he was a strong person who people supported and followed, and if he had the power of persuasion and he could get people to agree with his positions, then he could do all this stuff through Congress. And it would be law. If he did these things through Congress, it would have the force of law behind it. It would have durability. It would be much more difficult for a subsequent president or Congresses to undo. Not like executive orders that can be, gotten rid of like that. So he's doing all of this. So much of what he's doing is because of weakness, not strength. 100% agree with that. And when you take all of this together, the fact that he's jamming through these unpopular things by executive order, that he's hitting us with so much crap for the sole purpose of keeping us distracted and disoriented, he's throwing so much crap at us that is unpopular. These tariffs, not popular. Picking fights with Canada and Mexico and Panama and Denmark and saying we're going to invade Gaza and take it out and displace the Palestinians and whatever batshit crazy shit he'll say an hour from now. It's all unpopular. It's all chaos. And it's not doing him any good in terms of his popularity and his public support. And all of this is going to undermine his strength. And there will be a backlash. And that is Ezra, one of his points here, is that this strategy of flooding the zone, they're flooding the zone against themselves in a way with all of this garbage. And so those are some of the points he made. He said a lot more, and again, watch it, it's good. But it leaves you coming away with the idea, you know what, this guy isn't all powerful. He's really not that damn smart. He's not that popular. And he screws up a lot, and he's a weak man, and he's a pathological liar, and we can beat him. And so that's what you come away with when you watch his video. When you watch my recent video, you come away with, damn, wow, this is bad. This is really bad. And you're not very optimistic coming away from it. And so it sounds like those two things, those two videos are in conflict. It's not. I agree with much of what he says, and I share a great deal of his optimism. Again, much of what he said about Trump being stupid and his rules by, trying to rule by executive order is a stupid strategy. I did a video on that thing exactly, about how his strategy is so stupid and is going to backfire on him. And on and on. I've made many of these points myself. What my video is about saying, look, this is what they're trying to do, because it is what they're trying to do. I do not say, however, that it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to be successful in creating this MAGA dictatorship. I'm just saying we have to be honest about what we're up against. That's what the point of my video is. Not to say that it's all bleakness and darkness ahead, that it's all over, we've lost our republic. All we can do is sit back and watch Donald Trump destroy what is left of it, destroy our Constitution, and consolidate power as a dictator with ultimate power. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying this is what they're up to. This is what they want to do. Because if we're going to effectively battle these people, we have to be honest about what our enemy, our political opponents, are trying to do. And what I said in that video is what I believe they're trying to do. Now, where we should take some comfort is in what Ezra Klein has said, and what I have said many times in the past and will continue to, that yes, they may be wanting to impose this MAGA dictatorship, but it's not necessarily the case that they're going to, because of all of these things Ezra said. These guys are shooting themselves in the foot in a lot of ways. Okay? This flood the zone strategy is turning the American people against them. And in a lot of different ways, what they're doing and how they're going about it is counterproductive and will make it harder for them to institute this sort of MAGA fascist dictatorship that they're wanting to do. So if you watched my video yesterday and you came away feeling like it's all over, that is not what I wanted you to believe. We can fight back and we can succeed over this. It's going to be bad and it's going to get ugly. There's no avoiding that. Donald Trump is president. He has both houses of Congress, although he's not really going to use Congress for very much. He's going to try to rule by decree, which is stupid and counterproductive. The important thing about Congress, and what I talk about in my video, is that they're not doing their job as an independent branch of government to keep an out-of-control president in check. That's the real problem with Congress. Not that they're going to put all of these awful things that Donald Trump wants to do into law. They're not. They're probably not going to vote on very much at all. Trump is just going to do everything by executive order. So they'll say, oh, well, then we don't have to do anything, which again, stupid strategy. So they're not going to actually do very much at all. What they're going to do is embolden Donald Trump and allow him, because the only way we can effectively stop Donald Trump dead in his tracks is through Congress. They can impeach and remove him, but they're not going to. And really, right now, that's the only actual remedy to an out-of-control president. We have to defeat him politically, but we can't do too much to prevent what he is doing right now. Congress can, but they're not going to. That's the problem with Congress. But so don't take anything that I've said as fatalism. I don't believe it's all over. I believe we're in deep, deep shit, and we're in a very difficult position because we are surrounded in this country by blithering idiots who reelected a criminal who was just trying to stay out of prison, and who the Supreme Court said to a criminal, you have immunity from prosecution. And the American people said, hey, why don't we reelect that criminal who is immune from prosecution and is above the law? Why don't we elect that guy? Nothing bad could happen if we put a criminal who is above the law in the White House. What bad could happen? No, we're in a very bad position because we're surrounded by morons. So make no mistake about it. But it's not all over for us. We can fight back. And Donald Trump is, as I've said many times, an idiot. Like, he's really, really stupid. And again, much of what Ezra said is correct. But here's the thing that makes it, a little worse than what Ezra is saying, is that that's all true about Donald Trump. Everything he said is true about Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is not really the one in charge. He's not really the one doing things. He's a figurehead. He really is. Do you think Donald Trump is coming up with these executive orders? Hell no. None of this is his idea, or very little of it is his idea. This is all Steve Bannon and Russ Vought and Stephen Miller and all those types of people. They're the ones putting all this together, doing this, strategizing, throwing all this crap at us in terms of the executive orders. Trump just signs them. Trump's job is to distract. Trump's job is to go out there and say batshit crazy stuff to keep our focus off of them, off of Russ Vought and all of them and their executive orders and their attempts to implement a MAGA fascism, a MAGA dictatorship in this country. That's Donald Trump's purpose. Keep us distracted from that. Keep us outraged about Gaza or whatever the hell nonsense he might say in an hour. That's his job. So that's where, part of the things that Ezra said about Trump's weakness and all that's true, but, it is those people behind the scenes who we also have to be concerned about. But anyway, the point is, what he said and what I said are not incompatible at all. I just don't want you to be fatalistic, because if you become fatalistic and think it's all over, then guess what? It will be all over. If you think we're going to lose the republic, then we will lose the republic. If you think there's no hope, then nobody will fight against this, and it will be all over. So don't take anything that I or anyone else says as a reason to give up, to just cede the whole thing over to this orange buffoon and his cult of fascists in the White House. We need to fight it back against this. It's difficult, but we can. The good thing is that in our opponent, we have a really stupid person and a team of really arrogant people who, by their arrogance and their misreading the election results, are going to vastly overreach and shoot themselves in the foot politically. And that will be an opening for us to fight back against this. Anyway, just want to put that out there. If you haven't watched Ezra's video, do so. Link in the description below. If you haven't watched my video on MAGA dictatorship and how they plan to implement it, please watch that. It should be popping up right now at the bottom of your screen somewhere. Please watch that, then watch Ezra's video, and then come back here because I'll be putting up something again soon. So thanks so much for watching. Be well, and I'll talk to you again soon.